Hello, I'm Rose Diamond from Tribe in Transition, and today I want to talk about what it means to be part of a tribe in transition, to identify as being part of a tribe in transition, and why that's so important right now. It appears if we that we are living at a time when everything is falling apart. That our society, our culture has become dysfunctional. I think this is largely true. Our resources are being stretched to the max. We are poisoning our environment. Our services are barely able to keep going. We live in a culture of increasing war and violence. And yet, I don't want in any way to diminish the suffering in that. There's enormous suffering in our world, in our country and our world. However, there is another way of looking at the falling apart, the disintegration of the old culture, is that we are in transition to a new culture, a new chapter of human life on the planet. Now, it may be very difficult for you to see that today or right now, but I believe that that is what is happening, that we're in a process of global transformation, the transformation of consciousness and culture throughout the planet. And that those of us who are privileged enough to live in a relatively peaceful environment and have time and space to think about things like consciousness, we have an important role to play in what happens going forward. So if you identify with this movement of consciousness and culture, the old paradigm would be characterized by the power over, dominance, violence, aggression, competition, consumerism. Well, that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, the new culture would be characterized by, new paradigm culture would be characterized by cooperation, connection, knowing that we are connected to one another, that we are part of one another, that we are connected with everything, connection, cooperation, participation. These are the really vital ingredients of the new culture: connection, cooperation, and participation. Creativity, put that in there too. Okay, so the value, I've identified on my website several values or principles that underlie being part of a tribe in transition community as we go through this process of ridding ourselves, letting go of the old story, the old culture within ourselves, within our own psyches, within our own inner beings, and start to identify more and more with being agents, creators of the new culture. And one of the first principle that I want to explore today is we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And I'm sure you've heard this before. It might be a phrase that you use yourself, might be something that you live by. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. But one of the things I do in Tribe and Transition, in our meetings together, is I'm very keen on exploring what we actually mean. So it's very easy to talk about transformation, transition, all these kind of things, but the edges become very blurry because you don't know what I mean, and I don't really know what you mean, and we think we agree and we're like-minded, but actually it's in the unpicking of our differences, it's in the exploration of where we don't really know, that we can come up with a shared story, and that's what excites me. So I want to tell you what being a spiritual being having human experience means to me, and hopefully that will stimulate you to get clear about what it means to you. So spiritual being, what does it mean to identify with that spiritual being inside us? It means that we see our spiritual being, we are first and foremost spiritual beings. Spiritual beings. And spiritual being, If you just kind of open your mind to a moment to sort of feel into what is it? What is a spiritual being? Or spiritual being doesn't have a body. A spiritual being is kind of invisible, and yet it has an energy, and it has an intelligence, and it has a resonance, and it has a vibration. And that's what we pick up as in our human bodies and human minds. The spiritual beingness is everywhere. There's no end, there's no beginning and no end to spiritual beingness. There's no birth and there's no death. Spiritual beingness is a continuum of energy, consciousness and intelligence. It's infinite, it's eternal. Can you even wrap your mind around these ideas, what that means to be infinite and eternal? No ending, no end, no time. that's what we are able to uh, tap into as human beings, this vast, endless, alive, awake, vital source of intelligence, consciousness, inspiration is always here, always here. And it's expansive. So consciousness is it's an spiritual beingness is a movement. It's always in movement. It's flowing. It's when we talk about being in the flow, we're talking about being in the flow of spiritual being in the flow of that intelligent energy and vitality. So spiritual beingness knows no separation. There is no separation within consciousness. Everything is connected. Everything is conscious and everything is connected. There's no separation. It's a unified, we exist within a unified whole, a unified field of consciousness. It's as I said, it's intelligent, it's inspired. Spiritual beingness exists and resonates within a higher octave. So joy, love, harmony, truth, all of these are kind of part of the resonance of spiritual beingness. So, you know, as human beings, we long, these are the things we long for, surely. We long to be free. We long to experience more joy and love and express more joy and love and harmony and beauty. We long to be in that creative flow. We long to feel that spaciousness, that expansiveness, that ecstasy of just being. So, but we long for that. We are that, and we long for it. And we forget that we are that, and we start to look for those things outside of ourselves. So instead of looking for freedom inside, we start to look for freedom outside. Oh, I feel confined. I'll go on holiday. I'll go and stand on the top of the hill. I'll go to the sea, and whatever it is, wherever we go to experience freedom. And that's okay. It's okay to go to these places to remind ourselves. But actually, freedom is inside, always inside. Love is always inside. It's not something we get from another person. It's something that we access within ourselves and give and share. So what does it mean to be a human being then? If the spiritual being is this interconnected field of eternal, infinite, intelligent consciousness, what does it mean to be a human being? Well, human being, obviously, we live in a body, and the body is it dies. We are born and we die, and in between that we age, we become sick. So the body is something which is finite. We live in a finite physical being, which is subject to pain and suffering. And we come to identify with the body. We see ourselves as the body. and we might want to change our body or think we're not good enough as a body, whatever. So we identify with the body, and that brings suffering. We also, as a physical being, have emotions, and emotions in themselves are actually beautiful. Emotions are energy in motion. They show us how we're relating to our experience. And if you look at a child, a 2-year-old child, for example, just running around one moment, oh, she's so joyful, she's so excited. The next minute, oh, ah, next minute, so angry. So the child moves through these emotional states very quickly. But as we grow older, we tend our emotions get attached to thoughts, to stories, to memories. So it becomes very complicated. We get lost in those emotions and in those thoughts and those stories. And again, we think that's who we are. So we think we identify with our emotions. If I'm angry, I'm an angry person. If I'm sad, oh, I'm a sad person. And we think that's who we are. We take it all very personally. So we identify with our emotion, our physical body. We identify with our emotions. We identify with our minds. And that beautiful, expansive energy of pure spirit, awareness, consciousness, and being gets lost. We imagine that we are separated. It feels like we are separated. And then when we've separated from our true beingness, our spirit, yeah, that's a sad day. That's a sad feeling. That's a difficult feeling. And I think a lot of our what are these days being called mental health crises or whatever is caused by this sense of separation. And I think that sense of separation has been intensified in the last 4 years since lockdown. We went into lockdown, we put on our masks, we went into isolation, and I think many of us haven't really come out. We haven't come out of separation. So if we are a spiritual being here on earth to have a human experience, then what does that mean, really? It means that, I think it means that we are beings human, as human beings, we are beings of choice. We always have a choice. We can't choose necessarily what happens to us, but we can always choose as we develop our awareness, we can always choose who we are in relation to what happens. We can choose conscious responses. So we don't have to react to life all the time. If my partner annoys me, I don't have to get annoyed about it. I don't have to show that. I can breathe, I can stop, I can breathe, I can make a different choice. I can choose to be loving instead of angry or irritated. So we always have this conscious choice. And I see this um, ability to choose consciously as a long-term process, becoming more aware, freeing ourselves from all those old identifications, those old stories, those old limitations, is a long-term healing process for most of us. It's something that we can do on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis, and that's what I call transformational practice. It's transformational practice that we do within Tribe in Transition is coming together with the intention of becoming more conscious, more awake, more alive, more connected, more cooperative, more participatory. That's what we intend. And in order to do that, we need to release the old story that's locked inside of us. We need to withdraw our identification from that old story and put our attention and our energy into the creation of the new story, which arises naturally in our creative acts as we become more aware, more compassionate, more loving, more alive. So we are spiritual beings here on earth to have a human experience, to experience what it's like to be in the limitations of the body and emotions and the mind, so that as we can transcend, we can uplift human experience. And as I uplift my experience, that ripples out. The consciousness and the energy ripples out. It touches others. It uplifts the bigger field, bigger collective field. So it's not just in what we do that we're able to change and create the new story. It's also in how we are, who we be in our being. So we're in Tribe in Transition, we're practicing awakening to new dimensions of consciousness and participating in the evolution of creativity and culture. So I think I'll leave it there just now. But if you're new to Tribe in Transition and you'd like to learn more, you can find the link below to sign up for the newsletter and to connect with me and with the community. Thank you for listening.